evening and welcome. Welcome to the T.N.F. Don't adjust your screens, don't adjust the calendars. It's not Friday night feeling, it is the T.N.F. This is the night where we hand the keys of the bus to you, the passengers, to take this bus wherever you want to go. And the way to do that... Oh mate, where could this bus take us tonight with all the passengers? There's already starting to see us all flying in. Hello, Stephen Murdoch, Brown Warriors in. Timmy Bing, beep beep, he says. Guys, my name is David Logue. I am the host of the Boise Bus T&F tonight. I am joined by my Friday night feeling and my Sunday blethering buddy Phil McGinley. And what's that? Connor Carr, one of the pillars of the T.N.F. show. Just remember whose show this was last year, mate. Welcome aboard. Yep. How you doing? You good?
I'm alright here. Look, you can take the Sundays, I'll take the Thursdays, mate. That's for all hands.
That's it, mate. I'm usually a bit more dignified this Sundays, but it's the T.N.F. This is where the passengers get to take the keys and just take the bus wherever they want to go, Connor. So where is it going to go? Who knows? But before we find out, make sure that you like and share, subscribe, slag my facial hair for a change, and also become a Boise Bus member for a small cost of $1.99. All our content is free. It's just a little help to keep the bus on the road and just help support the bus. Big shout out to our sponsors, piesports.com. Get onto their website. Get your pies, get your tasty pastry treats, pop in the code BUS1888 for 12.5% off your order at the checkout. Remember to follow the Boise Bus on Twitter for updates regarding the channel. I'm just reading off the screen now. It's like a wee teleprompter for me here, Phil. Typed it perfectly. We're not joined by the judge tonight. The judge was meant to be on, but something's come up, so unfortunately he's not going to be able to make it. So I sent out the Phil signal, and of course, when you do, Phil appears. So be careful with that button though. You got to use it responsibly. Don't be flashing out the Phil signal just anywhere. You got to use it carefully. The signal is
the bat signal, but it's a pair of glasses. Basically, gets projected in the clouds and
just the big headset.
Big headset on, yeah, indeed.
And of course, yes, Smell the Glove. What a name! Smell the Glove. What's happening? Where's the judge? He's not able to make it tonight, unfortunately. He's preoccupied. However, he will be back next week. Don't you worry about that. And of course, I'm sure there'll be plenty of things on the judge's mind to discuss. But like I said, guys, this is the T.N.F. This is where the passengers get to dictate where the show goes. And if you want to dictate where the show goes, make sure you put hashtag T.N.F. at the start of your question or your topic, so we can just give it a wee start and we can remember to use it.
Yes.
Rather than me sitting here scrolling, trying to find something to talk about. But guys, since I haven't managed to speak to you since Tuesday night, I guess we can start there if you want. Listen, this is what Diego Simeone had to say about our performance.
What performance?
Diego Simeone has declared that Celtic are the worst team he has ever faced in the Champions League, despite the plucky hoops being down to 10 men. This is his words. His Brendan Rodgers' team were as tactically poor as I can ever remember. I hope their fans weep. An embarrassing evening. Wow. Say what you really feel, Diego. What say to that, Phil? What say to that?
First of all, I didn't even... That's legit. Yeah, that is not some sort of joke you're going to say. I was just winding you up. He definitely said that, yeah?
Apparently so. I've just read it one for one.
I mean... On looking at that performance, it was terrible. Yeah, there was a few things that went against us, but again, we've seen it enough times with Celtic now. It's like it's nothing new, and it seems to get worse and worse all the time. We lose a soft goal just a matter of minutes into the game, head it right to Antoine Griezmann, one of the best strikers in the world on the edge of the area. He doesn't even get that much force behind it, but of course the bobble, and there's a wee tiny deflection, beats Joe Hart. And then after that, the red card's not going to make it easy for us, and it just didn't get any better. And, you just ended up watching it where you're just like, I've seen this before. I've watched this movie before. I've read this chapter. Everything about it was just, I've lived this before. A year ago, we lost 5-1 in Madrid against Real. And here we are losing 6-0 to Atletico a year later, and it's like it's just we're just seeing it all the time. And once again, we just need to take our medicine. There's nothing, you know. At the end of the day, the board, we talked about it enough times in the summer about spending and the lack of it, and this could come back and haunt us. And my word, it did. That then you look at the words Brendan Rodgers said in press conferences about, you know, he's here to just coach the players that he's given, and he's happy with the whole transfer setup. And something just does not feel right about it all at all at the moment. That was just an absolute humbling in the end. And yeah, watching it, usually I'm always quite up for the whole European stuff, but I just took apathy the other night. I wasn't even like angry or anything watching it. I just was like shrugging my shoulders, like, what do you even do here? How do you even react to this? You know, some of the goals that were just flying in, it just felt like every shot in the second half in particular they were hitting was going in the net. So yeah, it was poor. And yeah, unfortunately we just need to take our medicine on this one again, and just we'll learn our lessons. I'm sure that'll be the line that'll get pushed out.
Aye, well, Connor, Arthur Johnson, he said that he's never been in a game like that where they were just doing whatever they wanted to you. And I guess that's pretty much summed it up. They go a goal up very early on. So there's a mountain to climb immediately. They managed to get Maeda sent off, and I'm using those words very carefully. They got him sent off by doing exactly what me and Phil were worried about on the Friday feeling, on the weeks leading up to it. We knew this was going to happen. We knew what they were going to be like at home. But as Johnson said it totally perfectly there, they did whatever they wanted to us. We were absolutely used and abused, thrown aside by the wayside. When they were done with us, it was an absolute mauling, and it could have been a lot worse. And this is the thing. This is a side that's managed by a guy that isn't going to take his foot off the gas. This isn't going to be a case of, right, lads, just take it easy off them. We've got the result. Let's not embarrass him. He will go for the jugular and then play around with it when he's done with it. That is the kind of manager we're up against. That's the kind of team we're up against. And they did exactly what they wanted to us. It was horrendous viewing. I ended up just turning it off. I had enough, if I'm being perfectly honest. It's the first time I've ever just went, I'm not finishing it, because it was just at the point where it was like, I don't see the point in it now. Connor, what was it? I mean, I saw your tweet saying what were we expecting? Was that what you were expecting? Because I wasn't as expecting it as that bad.
I wasn't expecting it that bad. I thought we'd get beat. I mean, I thought there was no chance in hell we could win. I think if anybody thought we could go in there and win, I think you're in quite cuckoo land, considering, we've got away with the draw at Celtic Park, but going over there's a whole other kettle of fish. But I think as much as right, it's fucking embarrassing. And Diego Simeone, who is an absolute cunt, a human being, like he's no a nice guy. He's just absolute wank. But we knew that because that's what they're like. They're
nice guys finish last, Connor. Nice guys finish
last, and that's what we are. We are the wee skinny dork who is just happy to be there with the big boys at the party, with the jocks and the fucking the superstar footballers, who's just happy to be invited along and hope we can, let's have a good time, guys. Let's, just like get on and see what happens. We'll have some fun times. And then, turns out we get fucking embarrassed, and then it just turns out they're absolute embarrassment for us, and turns out it looks like we don't even belong there. And that's what's been happening year on year out. Like, it's the only positive I can see coming out of this is the last time we got called out massively by an opposition manager or by opposition, members of a club, which was obviously Rangers taking the piss in front of Dermot Desmond. You didn't like that response to them and got Brendan Rodgers in, and we know what happened from there on. But that shouldn't be the case. I turned it off after the fifth goal went in. I went, fuck this, I'm going to my bed. And look, I never ever thought I would do that. But it's heartbreaking in Europe, because at the end of the day, like, we have zero vision of progression. We're not streetwise enough. They're talking about the red card. I don't think it's a red card. I think when you're going through stills and you're slowing things down to milliseconds, makes them look 10 times worse than what it already is. In the natural flow of the game, it's not that. It's just, I mean, we were watching, that was like a training game for them.
Yep.
And that should not be it. And look, I think one of the reasons that Simeone was as derogatory towards us was because I feel like they thought they would turn up to Celtic Park and stroll it, and they got a bit of a fright, and they got the draw, but they got a bit of a fright in it. So they then thought, right, he knows what he needs to do here. And they'll be dirty, they'll roll about, they'll surround the ref, and we don't do that. We're too happy to be nicey and pick players up. Like, I want, I know it's not the Celtic way and all this shit that people come at me, right? I see if we could get results in Europe and still do well domestically, I would have a team of 11 absolute bastards out in that pitch who are horrible fucking people who you would do like, who would like as quickly as to mug you in the street as it would be to take a picture with you. I would love that, because it means we'd be moving in the right direction. Players who can come in and they know that this is the kind of game that we're going to have to go up against. We're going to have to go toe to toe with them. Yeah, I'm sorry, right? Brendan Rodgers is a brilliant manager, right? And there's no two, ways about that. But if he thinks he can tactically outwit Diego Simeone, who has been in that position for years and has took Atletico Madrid to win La Liga, semi-finals, all the rest of it, to the some of the highest of the highs, I don't know what he's doing. And I'm not saying just go for damage limitation. That's not what we want. We want to try and get results. But it's just not working. And when you're looking at that bench and you've got players like fucking O and James Forrest and Mikey Johnson and that, and Gustav Lagerbielke, it really just is an eye-opening moment, and you're like, what are we doing? What are we actually doing? It's embarrassing. The fact that they have World Cup winners and World Cup runners-up in that. Some of them not even playing, some of them on the fucking bench. And I'm not saying that's what we should be getting, but we should at least be trying to get decent fucking players in to try and compete and to try and do this, and not just going down the same old rabbit holes that we go down. And it really annoys me, because I'm sick of seeing Celtic be this, like, just be the whipping boy in Champions League. But the thing is we know if we went down the Europa League, we could compete easily, because the evidence is there and we've done it. But you then sacrifice the riches that come with the Champions League and the big nights and all the rest of it. So it's a catch-22 situation. This is also the last season where the drop down happens. So we would have to actually fail at a certain level if we wanted to qualify for the Europa League and then compete in that. So it's such a bizarre situation, because I can guarantee you this right now, right? Next season in the Champions League ain't going to get any better.
It's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. Yes.
There's more teams in there. There's more opportunities to get their pants pulled down and to get pumped. It is going to be absolutely embarrassing for us next season. I'm putting my money on it right now. Unless we get, somehow through the grace of God, we get all beatable teams. Which will never happen. We will get like your likes of your Real Madrid's, Barcelona's, fucking Man City's. And the thing is, people will say, "Oh yeah, but I don't like the narrative that all of our players are suddenly shit." Right? I don't like that. People saying, "Oh, they failed the jersey, they're fucking not good enough." I don't believe that for a second, because the reason they're there, and I think in certain games, in certain moments, they've shown they can compete at this level. But it's not gonna work when something isn't working and you need to rely and change things up. You're relying on what we've got now, and we're just not got the depth. We're a project club. We're like a fucking a dog shelter. We're just taking strays to see if they work out, and if they don't, we fucking put them back in the pound. That's what it's like. That's what it's like.
Oh god.
They bite the hand that feeds them. You end up just putting them.
I don't know if it's strays. We take in puppies essentially and hope they grow up to be, great dogs. Essentially, that's what we do. We take in them young and try and develop.
We hope they become fucking XL bullies. You turn it to be fucking chihuahuas.
Aye.
Man.
Well, I mean, what is it that needs to be done then, Phil? What is it that needs to be done so next year isn't going to be worse for us? Because there's evidence out there that it can. There's teams like Shakhtar Donetsk is getting mentioned a lot in the chats
Yep.
tonight. A team that we should have beat last year.
Yep.
And they go and they're starting to get results this year. Was it Barcelona they played the other night?
Beat Barcelona. Yep.
They beat Barcelona. Now, so what is it that they're doing differently to what we're doing? Like, why are we not seeing any progression whatsoever in the Champions League? Why are we still seen as the whipping boys? Now, I don't believe you me. I can't stand listening to the guy. But Jamie O'Hara on TalkSport said, "What is the point in Celtic being there? What is the point?" And it's abysmal, yada yada yada. I'm finding it hard to disagree with him. Because every time I'm sitting there going, "What is the point? What is the point in this? If we're not looking as a club to progress, and obviously it stems from the top, then what is the point in us being there?" Because I'm starting to run out of ideas, Phil, as to why. But obviously, I want us to be there, and I dream that we can. I'm that fan that's like, this is pish, and then the next game comes up, and I'm like, right, here we go. This is the one, and then I find myself going, this is pish again, over and over. It's an endless cycle. So what is it that we need to do as a club to progress, so it doesn't have this narrative coming up saying, what is the point?
I think the natural answer that most fans are going to say is to throw lots of money at it, because the narrative is that we've got a lot of money saved up. Well, I say narrative, it's a fact. We do. We have a lot of money that we've banked over the last few years, and naturally people are asking, why is it not getting spent? Why are we not doing? And I don't think it's necessarily the quantity of money that you're spending, it's the quality that you bring in, because you can find good players for decent prices, but they have to have a bit of experience about them. And I think our scouting needs to be torn up. For what Brendan Rodgers said in the summer about how he's happy about the whole system at Celtic with the transfers, I think something just seems very, very off. I think he needs to start getting some people in who are experienced. I say it doesn't need to be breaking the bank. We can find these players. We've shown it in the past out there that we can find players completely under the radar. Victor Wanyama, nobody heard of Victor Wanyama. We signed him. He's less than £1 million playing for a mid-table team in the Belgian top flight. Players like that. He ended up scoring the night that we beat Barcelona, the game within the last decade or whatever that we always go back to about, we beat Barcelona that night. So he scored the night. Tony Watt scored the other goal. A guy was signed for Airdrie. So it's like the players are out there. We can find them, but if for whatever reason at the moment, I just feel like our transfer strategy is just so off. We're looking in the wrong places, it feels like, or the wrong calibre of player. We just need, I think, for more experienced heads. And I don't think those will necessarily cost stupid amounts of money. But the Celtic model is all about the sell-on fee. So the idea of signing a player who is 29, 30 probably doesn't appeal too much to Peter Lawwell and Dermot Desmond and Michael Nicholson. But again, when you go back to Brendan's first time in charge, I believe Scott Sinclair was touching 30 and he'd just been relegated with Aston Villa, who, when you suggest things like that, like a player has just been relegated from a Premier League team, a lot of Celtic fans turn their nose up at it. But again, Brendan knows what that boy would bring to the team, and he certainly did bring a lot to the team. So again, I think Celtic have got to get out of this mould of just, we can't just sign guys that are all in their early 20s or late teens and hope to develop them and for a sell-on fee. If it takes bringing in a player that's 28, 29 or whatever, a few guys like that who we can get for a reasonable price, maybe because their contracts are, running down at whatever club they're at, maybe, they won't be asking for 10, 15 plus million for them. They are out there, and I think that's where we need to be looking. I mean, there's teams coming up as well. You said with Shakhtar. Another great one is Copenhagen. FC Copenhagen, They beat Man United. I read today that apparently the only teams that have went to Copenhagen Stadium and won in the Champions League are Bayern Munich and Real Madrid. The last time Copenhagen played Man United as well, which they were in the same group as us in 2007 when we beat Man United, we beat them as well. Man United lost in Copenhagen as well in that group, and they lost the other night. And it's apparently the only two teams in all the Champions League group history that have went to FC Copenhagen and won at that ground are Bayern Munich and Real Madrid. And then you look at their size of team and the money they've got, and then look at us. And there was a time and a place when we were an absolute, teams were afraid to come to Celtic Park in the 2000s. But nowadays, I'd say the last time we won a home game, Ajax 10 years ago. Grand Theft Auto 5 hadn't even been released yet. And so there's a challenge. Grand Theft Auto 6 is getting announced. Will we get a win in the Champions League before GTA 6 comes out? There you go. Because the last time we won it, Grand Theft Auto 5 wasn't even out at that point. So that's how long it's been.
You go, some gaming trivia for you.
There
You're
you go.
interested in that. Connor, I seen this tweet today, and I always like to credit the tweets that I take for the show, because I'm not going to pretend that I've done the research here. This is from a Celtic supporter on Twitter or X called @thepundit, and he tweeted the following: bottom of their Champions League groups and their summer spends. Man United, who are sitting bottom of their Champions League group, they spent 204 million and they have 3 points. Sevilla have spent 32 million and they have 2 points. Union Berlin, 32 million, 7 million of that spent on a Croatian international, 1 point. Benfica, 69 million euros, 0 points, even worse than us. Newcastle, sitting bottom of their group, 153 million pounds, euros, 4 points. Young Boys, 3.9 million, 1 point. Antwerp, 10.5 million, 0 points. And Celtic, 22.3 million, 1 point. So, and he asked the question, I'm going to ask you, Connor. How much does Celtic need to spend to become competitive in the Champions League when 5 out of 7 other clubs currently bottom have spent more than us, and they're still sitting in 4th place, some even without a point? Now, the question I've asked, obviously, is how much needs to be spent. I think you're going to give the same answer as Phil. It's not necessarily how much we spend, but it's where we're spending it. And right now, Connor, proof's in the pudding that we're not signing Champions League quality players. And I know the argument is we can't attract them, we can't afford them. Well, like Phil mentioned earlier, Victor Wanyama that we spent 1 million on, more than Champions League quality. And then, of course, I think Kyogo is now beginning to show. I know he didn't do much there on Tuesday night. There is also a Champions League quality player. We spent 4.5 million on him. What is it we need to do? Is it spending more, or is it spending wisely, or is it a bit of both?
I think it's probably a bit of both. I think obviously we've came to the realisation that we do not spend enough. We're spending, was it 22 million? That's not even spending the money we got for Jota alone, and Starfelt and that who left. It's ridiculous that we're not speculating to accumulate. I mean, Martin O'Neill, who got us to our first European final in donkeys, he didn't buy in projects, did he? He brought in players who had pedigree and who had experience and who weren't 19-year-old just fresh at their mum's twat. It's fucking it's simple. It's simple maths.
Yeah, this is Sunday Dignified Sunday Blather.
This is definitely not the Dignified Sunday Blather. Definitely not.
Post Watershed show.
Look, you're getting me right. Fucking just look. You want a figure? You want a ballpark figure? 35 to 40 million pounds. But by the way, it will never fucking happen. We know it will never happen. We're not stupid. But it's the hope that kills you. Because I can tell you now, if we spent 35 million pounds on quality players, and I'm not even talking about 10 or 11 players, I'm talking about 4 or 5 quality players for 35 to 40 million pounds, we would compete and we would get fucking points in the Champions League. At least enough to, well, we can't even drop down to the fucking Europa League anymore, but at least enough to finish third. Or even
so Connor, that's the argument. This is the argument I think that the pundit is trying to put forward is Union Berlin spent 32 million euros and they've got 1 point, the same as us. And I think obviously, so like, what?
That's what I'm saying. It's got to be quality. You've got to have this fucking scouting system.
It's got to be quality.
The people who are identifying these players need gone.
Who'd have thought spending 7 million euros on a Croatian right back from Celtic would accumulate 1 point in the Champions League?
Hell yeah.
Who was by the way was ripped a fucking the arsehole of the Champions League previously and was shown that he can't defend. But well, it can take a decent pair away, so I will spend £7 million on him.
Oh, we could do
But,
it. We take it now. So Stephen Ray said, and this is very interesting. Joe Hart said on a podcast that Celtic turned down the chance to sign him a year before we did because the CEO said he didn't have a sell-on valuation. Now, that speaks volumes, Phil. That speaks volumes to me that, you know, and it's, like, everyone can say it. They've all been saying it in the chat tonight. It's the board play a massive factor on what's happening at the club right now. I mean, Boyce's been saying it for the last year. He took an absolute pounding for it, just because we were winning games domestically, to keep an eye on the board. And you know, it's coming around again that the board is obviously the root of the problem. If all they're considered is, well, we can't get any resale value on Joe Hart, a year younger Joe Hart than we signed on, then what hope do we have in signing players that are a bit more distinguished and a bit more in their career, as you could say, a bit more experience of playing in Champions League football, games that are players that you can rely on now? I know Joe Hart's getting to the point now where, like, maybe time to move on. I think there's been signs of that. He's maybe not Champions League quality anymore. However,
was the sign where he tried to claw the ball that was already in the net?
Yep. Stand by.
Well, it's definitely one of the signs. It's definitely one of the signs. It flew off him quicker than that dandruff fell off his head. But it's Phil, if this is going to be if that's the only topic of discussion when it comes to signing players is what's the resale value, then what hope do we have? It's
a shocking attitude. It really is. They've got to just look at it on the park. I mean, surely to God, they must sit there and look at that and think we can't go on like this. But it wouldn't even surprise me if they're just, like, again, looking at the bank balance and going, more than happy for us to keep going through this cycle. Surely to God, they must be able to read the room. I know this is something that we've said a lot ever since the infamous COVID season. You know, read the room, Peter Lawwell. There's been a few instances where they haven't, and I'd like to think that they've maybe, you know, picked up on the vibes right now. Surely to God, they must have, like, an ear to the ground on the sort of discontent amongst the fan base at these performances. I'd say performances in plural, because again, this isn't a new thing. You know, what we saw on Tuesday night, we've witnessed it just a year ago, getting leathered in Madrid as well, and then even going further back, you know, losing 7 goals to Barcelona, 7 goals to PSG coming to Celtic Park and putting 5 past us. You know, and then you go back even further and then look at when teams came to Celtic Park and couldn't get anything. Bayern Munich celebrating getting a point in 2003. They were actually delighted. So they need to drop this attitude about, you know, being so against players' ages and whatnot. Again, it's all about experience. If the manager says that this guy will bring something to the team, I mean, surely God, we've banked enough money. And if we keep qualifying for the Champions League, then the money will, you know, don't worry about the sell-on value. We'll make up for it by qualifying for the Champions League, and that will supplement it. But I mean, I don't know if it's a fail-safe to them, but they think, well, if there's a year comes where we don't qualify for the Champions League, whether it's, heaven forbid, we don't win the title or we're in the qualifiers, because the coefficient could obviously drop, which is very much in danger of happening, let's be honest, and we lose in the qualifiers, then maybe that's always we've always got a player there that we can sell to supplement it. But I think the risk is worth the reward. I really do. But it feels like they just are not willing to push it out and do that. But again, this is where Brendan Rodgers has got to have some bollocks and go in there and just say that, you know, this is the players that I need. You know, Ange Postecoglou wasn't afraid to do it. And I know, like, a lot of fans, you know, he's a bit of a dirty word now, you know, not to mention him. But look at his first season in charge, where it was a few games in and things weren't going too well. And he said in a press conference after a game, maybe I've not been forceful enough. And then, you know, we got a few more players in, and then the start of the January window. I mean, that January window in his first season was an anomaly compared to what Celtic normally do, where we announced 3 players a day before the window opened. And it's like, well, that's being proactive. That's what you want to see. And I just get a funny feeling, you know, Brendan has came out recently and has said, well, I think I said it the other day when we mentioned it, there was a quote that he said at a press conference last week where it starts really well. The first few lines of the quote are really good, where he's talking about bringing in quality, and if you're like, okay, he's getting a message out there. But then midway through it, he talks about how January's a difficult window, and you're like, oh, I've heard that one before. So when this January rolls out, it wouldn't surprise me if we get to the last couple of days of the window and we're still twiddling our thumbs going, where are the players? You know, you and I, David, could end up doing another transfer deadline night show and we'll be sitting here going like, well, who's getting announced? Because we got one player announced on deadline night, a guy who arguably it was well known that we'd signed a few days before deadline night. And I say that everyone can see it, every fan can see it. Surely that board can see that we need to get some serious investment in this team now. The money is there. You know, we've got a manager who's got a lot of good contacts, a lot of experience, and he's making noises about bringing in quality. Well, it's time to show it.
Absolutely. There's I want to touch on what you said there, Phil, in terms of like, obviously, there are players out there that we could be looking at and not worrying about their selling value. One of which who is playing rather well for Copenhagen right now, a player that a few of us touted on the bus. However, we were told just because his dad played for the club doesn't mean he's going to do well at Celtic. Well, if you're wanting to make money, you sign Jordan Larson, who was available, and you put that number 7 on his shirt. And if he can't handle the weight of it, well, then that's Jordan Larson's issues to worry about. That's no us as a Celtic fan. Celtic can make their money back on that and not have to worry about resale value or qualifying money. And another player that's playing well for Copenhagen, I'm not saying we should have gone out and signed him, but LNOC got on the score sheet against Man United as well. Another player that has the quality, maybe not necessarily would have cost a lot of money, but at least we know he has the experience in playing for the club and 2, playing Champions League football. Again, I'm not saying that is who we should have been signing, but I think it's players of that ilk. They are able to be attracted to come to Celtic and could do a job for Celtic. Whether it's shirt sales or whatever, like, don't always worry about the resale value. Anyway, this is the T.N.F. We've dictated this conversation so far. Remember, get your messages in with the hashtag T.N.F. so we can star them. And I want to bring this one up. I want to go back to Simeone's tactics corner. I find this really interesting. So this is Condors. He said, hashtag T.N.F. Should we fundamentally change tactics rather than try to follow the current trend of playing out from the back? We will never have the players with this style at that level. And the reason I like bringing this one up is Simeone played a 5-3-2 formation at home against Celtic. A 5-3-2. That is his go-to tactic. He doesn't care if it's Barcelona he's playing one week, Real Madrid, or Celtic, or Copenhagen, or whoever. It's a 5-3-2. And they're tactically got it down to a T. They all know what they're doing, and it might not be the most best attractive football that you might ever watch, but they do it well, and it works for most teams. Now, I'm not suggesting that we go to a 5-3-2 at home and all that kind of stuff, but I think Condor's onto something here, saying that maybe we should stop worrying about what is the trends that are being set down south by current managers like the likes of Pep or Klopp. We need to maybe start looking at tactics that work for us as a club with the players that we have for domestic football, which we can kind of get away with no matter what we do. Let's be, for no disrespect, but history's shown that we can handle pretty much anything that comes to us. But when it comes to these types of games, should we be fundamentally changing the tactics to suit the style of football? Now, we can just look back to Neil Lennon against Barcelona. You can look to Gordon Strachan's tactics of the past, with the likes of Gary O'Connor at the back. So, like Condor said, Connor, do you think we should fundamentally change the tactics?
I don't think we need to, take up the route and change things massively, but I feel like switching up now again to doing, something different wouldn't hurt. Continue to play out for the back when you're getting absolutely hammered is just asking for trouble. And you see it, it's all well and good doing it against St Mirren, against Ross County, or even against Aberdeen or Rangers. It is a different fucking ball game doing it against the likes of Atletico Madrid, Real Madrid, teams of this calibre that can hurt you. They are 2, 3, 4, 5 paces quicker than what we're up against. So we can tiki-taka play for the back easy in the SPFL because we know what we're up against. They're going to just camp in, and if they do pressures, and most likely be one player up the top so they can lump the ball up to him, and they'll try and put pressure on our centre back, and we just 1, 2, 3 out for the back for the keeper, and then it's 3/4 of it up the pitch, and we possibly go and score. You can't do that at this level. It is fundamentally naive to think you can get away with that with the quality of players we've got and the quality of opposition we're up against. It's mental. It's crazy. People are this is going to be unpopular, but just hear me out. Look at Rangers, right? Their football is fucking garbage. It is Route 1 football. They rely on crosses for the outside of the box, whipping it in and getting fucking penalties and getting on the end of things, right? And relying on headers and relying on balls, fumbling in the box so they can get tapped and shit. Their football is dire to watch. It's horrible. But it got them to the European final. Couple that with huge slices of luck and penalties after penalties, right? I don't think they necessarily got there on merit, but they still fucking got there, which is more than we can say for our European escapades of the past 10 years.
Yeah.
And their football is the exact same. It is hoofball. It is Route 1. It is boring. It's shite. But it gets them results. And they play the same way against all the opposition. They did it against Dortmund. They're doing it against that team tonight. They're doing it against that Irish Limassol. Even though they lost, they still play the same way. Then they buy all this shite that, the baldy genius Philippe Clement's changed Michael Beale's tactics. It's the exact fucking same. They've just got a new manager bounce. They play the same football every single way. They do it in Europe all the time. We've seen it time and time again. But it gets results. You need to just start trying to focus on something that'll get you the results, right? But you can't do it if we don't have a couple of things. We don't have height in this team. When's the last time we scored for a fucking corner? When's the last time a corner we took met the head of one of our players in the opposition box? I can't name it. I can't tell you right now. When's the last time that an opposition team took a corner and you weren't absolutely shitting yourself at that ball possible going in the back of the net?
Yep.
Connor's just been outed as a Rangers fanboy, but honestly,
Connor giving Rangers any sort of credit, mild credit, whatever.
What a fanboy! What a fanboy!
End of days, indeed.
Connor, the Rangers fanboy. What's going on here?
I'm hiding my sash in that fucking cupboard back there.
Connor, you've changed me.
It's not about a reputation. It's not about a reputation in this podcast for the past year. Every opportunity I got to slagging the fuckers, but no, just give it an example, lads.
I can't believe what I've just been listening to for the last 5 minutes, and it's horrendous. Honestly, Connor. Well, that begs the question, though, right? That begs the question, Phil, right? I'm going to put this to the chat as well, because the comments are suggesting there's a wee bit of difference in feelings about this. Would you rather, Phil? Let's play Would You Rather. It's post match. It's post watershed show. Would you rather sacrifice the free flowing sort of Celtic way of style of football and continue down the path that we're on, and we're doing fine domestically, and then we get scudded in Europe? Or would you rather we played very boring, horrible tactic football so long as results were coming in?
It's all about a results game, isn't it? I mean, it's beneficial if you can get a nice performance as well, but it's all about results and trophies and glory at the end of the day, and you get it however you can. I know there's the whole ethos of the Celtic way, and about how Celtic should play football over the years. But I mean, when I first got my season ticket, it was in the middle of the Gordon Strachan era, and he was actually really successful domestically and in Europe. And I think it was really once his reign was over that a lot of fans were like, oh man, that was brutal, the football was getting played. But see, at the time when you're beating teams like Man United and AC Milan and you're winning trophies, like that dramatic, last day win the title in 2008, the one that got played on a Thursday night. The league got extended by a few days, and the couple of victories over Rangers in the run-up to the end of that season. I say, with hindsight, once Strachan's reign was over, I say a lot of fans, me included, were like, oh God, it was quite brutal at times. But see, at the time when it's happening, you just get caught up in the moment and you don't really notice it. And I think if Celtic, over the next few years, whatever reason, maybe it's a manager change happens somewhere, and we do go back to a sort of style of that, as long as they're winning, then I genuinely don't think fans would really bat an eyelid. I can't imagine a fan being like, I'm so outraged, I'm never going to go and watch my team again because they're playing a bit of a dodgy style of football, but they're still winning. If they're still winning games and winning trophies and actually taking points off teams in Europe again, then I just don't think anyone would be, would complain at that, really. So ultimately, I want the glory, man, whatever it takes. If it means that we need to be a bit more, there's a word I know Brown Warrior likes, a bit more pragmatic in certain fixtures, then by God, be as pragmatic as you want to be. If it gets some results, it stops us getting absolute doings like we got the other night.
I mean, I'm on the fence with it. Like I said, like what we do in domestic football works a treat. All right. I mean, but when it comes to European football, yes, I love the idea of us going toe to toe with free flow and we're doing our thing, past trying to dictate the play, nice exciting football. But ultimately, we get horsed. So, do I want us to be a bit more pragmatic? I think I do. However, there was a comment that came up there saying that Rangers tried their boring shite football in the Champions League last year and they got absolutely guffed as well. So, it's it makes me question whether it's that whole. I mean, we can bring him up. I mean, Ange's tactics against Chelsea the other night. He said he would rather.
Said with 5 players, he'd still be trying to look
that high line. Like I said, I mean, and like he's been getting panned in the obviously in the media for it, whilst also getting a lot of at least he gave it a go tactic. And it's like, would you rather lose 2-1 or would you rather lose 4-1, but you gave it a go? You could sit in there and debate it until the cows go home. Let's get some more hashtag T.N.Fs in the chat, guys. I'm going to bring up another one here. Here we go. What's this from? Oh, mate, what a name. How did I pronounce it? I'm really sorry. I'm going to I'm very, very sorry. How did I even know? It's an Irish name. I'm very sorry. I'm going to just call you Doug.
That'll be us getting called fake fiends.
Dave. We're all Dave's here. So Dave says, from kids' football, I'm really sorry. I don't, no disrespect, I'm just terrible with reading names and that. From kids' football, you're told never play a clearance between the sticks. Yeah, our pros did it for 3 of the goals. Too much nepotism in our coaching structure, never mind the clubs as a whole. So does this come down to grassroots football? Or not even grassroots football. Let's just talk about like what we are producing in our academies at Celtic, who you can look at where they're sitting in their league table right now, and it's not for easy reading. But what's your thoughts here, Phil? Like, is they're just not doing the basics right?
Again, it's just things that I've heard over the years about coaching at that level. Kids are just trained more to just win games essentially, rather than working on tactical side of stuff. It does seem like the ethos at grassroots level needs a look at as well. But this is a massive can of worms. Again, this just bleeds into the whole Scottish football as a whole problem. And again, it is a grassroots thing at the moment, and it needs a massive restructure. But sadly, that would fall in the hands of such competent people like the Neil Doncasters of the world, or the guys that run the SPFL and the guys in charge of the SFA, all these restructures. But yeah, it does seem like from stories that I've heard and whatnot about coaching at that level, it's more about the kids are taught just to essentially just win a lot of hoofball. A word that we mentioned tonight, a bit of hoofball really, instead of working on tactics, instead of making it all about winning is everything. Instead of trying to improve their technique and whatnot, these are the type of things that should be getting looked at that level. And it is interesting as well that you bring up the Celtic B team and what Celtic are producing. And exactly what are they producing? You know, we look at the amount of players that keep leaving. We keep hearing things about they're going to be a real good player and they never ever get a chance, and they just let the contract run down, or they go and get poached by another team, because the idea of playing in, say, the reserve league in England is a lot more appealing than playing in the 5th or the 6th tier of Scottish football against a bunch of part-timers and cloggers and whatnot, in a league that they're not allowed to win. So even if they were to win it, they can't get promoted. And to me, that's just a whole bunch of glorified friendlies they're playing, so there are no consequences
They
for
can't
the
even
wins
win
or
it.
losses.
They're not allowed
They
to
can't.
win it.
Mark
allowed to
posted
win it.
something on Twitter the other day, and he was like, "Why is Darren a D still in a job?" And my first thought was, it's probably because they're ahead of the Rangers B team. Then I looked at the full league table. Rangers don't even have a B team in that league anymore. So that's not even the reason why they're a job. But I think they're like 12th or something in the table. It's like, what the hell is going on down there?
Hearts Academy's third, I think.
I think they are, aye. And they're the same. They're not allowed to get promoted neither. So their players are playing a lot better. But I just feel like if you're a player at that level, you're turning up to play these games in quite rotten conditions with no real path to the first team, basically being told there's no relegation, there's no promotion for you, even if you win the title. To me, as a player, you would just be like, well, what's the point? So I can understand why guys like Ben Doak and that have all left, because the idea of playing for Liverpool's reserves, and he has now been getting chances in the first team, is a lot more appealing than playing against, let's say, civil service strollers and stuff like that. And it is a whole ripped up. I said we could do a whole podcast on the many problems with Scottish football and the structure, but that is a huge part of it. Our youth team is non-existent right now. We're not producing anything. And Rocco Vata, who at the moment is the one that is seen as the next one that could break into the team and could be something big. A lot of talk that he's running down his contract as well, and he's going to go at the end of the season. So what do you do? How do you solve that?
That is the question. That is the question. NM says here, he's brought up a T.N.F. hashtag. T.N.F, the whole issue resolves around the transfer policy, no getting around it. Question is, how much longer can the board get away with this cash before quality approach? When and where does it end, Connor?
I'm going to steal one of Mark's points, which, you know, we've kind of agreed on. It's rather morbid, but it ends when all the old duffers are in the fucking ground dead and buried. That's the only way it's going to change. Until that fucking that board is tore up for the root or put out to pasture, it's never going to change. And we know for a fact that we're too fickle and we're too loyal of a fan base to hit them where it really hurts in their pockets. Now, there's shit going on with the fucking Green Brigade and that, and they're protesting the board, but they're not protesting it for, you know, these reasons which are affecting, you know, the football on the pitch and what's happening, which is a thing that I and a lot of people really care about. The politics and whatever comes second. But bear in mind, there was banners outside Celtic Park with the pictures, the faces of the board with the red
countdown or the count up the way. Yep.
He's like so many days without a manager, so many days without a manager. This is fucking shit. It's never going to end. We've got fucking generations of these cunts in there.
Yep.
Their fucking sons are in there. That's what we're dealing with. And for all we know, it's going to continue. And it's this nepotism and jobs for the boys mentality that we're stuck with. I think we've got one of the longest running fucking boards in the country. Boards tend to change themselves every now and again. Ours hasn't. It's been the exact same. Peter Lawwell has been in a high up position at Celtic, maybe not the CEO or the chairman, but he's been at a high up position. He was a financial director at one point, you know, when things were fucking going pretty shitty, to be honest, at one point. And it's insanity. It is insanity that we continue to persist with these fucking demonic fucking goblins that fucking sit in that boardroom and look down their fucking noses at us like we're scum, and that treat us with such, you know, disdain that they're more than happy just to reap the fucking rewards of our hard-earned cash, that we fucking go out and do jobs that a lot of us fucking hate in the fucking wind and rain, freezing your bollocks off, you know, that you're fucking paying 80 quid for fucking football tops, and then you're paying 50 quid for fucking one way and two way, and getting babies for the Celtic kit, then you're buying beer mugs and all the rest of it just because they slap a fucking Celtic crest on it, because we're too loyal and we're too, we back the club too much, if there's such a thing, because they know that. The board have got us on strings. It's never gonna change. There is a fucking dynasty in that fucking club of fucking over the fans time and time again. The only person who came in and really seen them for what they were and got change, at least for a while, was Fergus McCann. God bless his soul. We need another fucking Fergus McCann right now. Not to save the club, because we're no, bad financially. We're totally fine. We're actually in the best fucking position financially we have been in a very, very long time. But we need somebody to come in here and just tear these bastards in the arsehole and make them see what they're doing is so wrong. And they don't deserve the fucking the adulation that's piled onto them by these cunts. Fucking what a job this man's doing. Fucking Michael Nicholson. Fucking looking like Ebenezer Scrooge, man, in these fucking pictures. Fucking sitting rubbing his pennies together. It's fucking... I know Fergus is still alive. I'm just saying God bless him because of what he fucking done for the club.
You're
But
going to have a fucking aneurysm on this show
I'm,
one
mate,
day, mate.
I'm leaving done.
Stuart Miller's comment. I'm just now
done.
mentally counting the amount of F-bombs that gets dropped. I'm now counting them.
Hey, look. See if we got to chip in to be able to buy some decent fucking players. There's another one there.
The big
But
issue you've got, though, just on this, is how do we get rid of them? Football, we see it a lot in recent times, right? About owners from other countries coming in and buying football clubs. Scottish football comes back to the same problem. Scottish football is a big black hole for money. Like let's say there's a billionaire in America owns a sports team out there, like the Glazers have bought Man United. Somebody of that level wants to invest in Celtic, but investing in Scottish football is basically a pit just for your money to just go into. We're not in a league again, and it's again problems with Scottish football where the money will not come back to that person. And when these guys come and they want to invest, that's what they want to see, a return on the money, where they're in a league with lots of big prize money, lots of TV rights, so they will get a lot back from what they put in. But in Scottish football, nope, you don't get that. So that's the conundrum that we've got here, because Celtic have got a lot of appeal when you actually look at it. If you take away the fact of the league that we're in, we've got a huge appeal with the stadium, the fan base, just the rich history of the club. There's a lot of attraction there for a big investor, whether it ends up being the Far East, the Middle East, America, whatever, a billion. But again, it comes down to where we currently play. And I think it's a huge problem for us, and there's nothing we can do about that, sadly. I know it comes up every couple of years about, Celtic and Rangers get a chance to move to the English Premier League. No, they're never going to let us in. It's not going to happen. So, yeah, we just have to make do what we got. So it's a never-ending cycle at the moment that we find ourselves in. We can see the problem, but how do we fix it?
I've seen, where is it? So FS came in and he said, regime change can be risky, but it's not impossible. Celtic Trust now 8th biggest shareholder, but total is insignificant. Now, I want to hark back to an episode of The Boys of Us where we had a special guest on, and that special guest was none other than the King himself, King Kenny Dalglish, and one thing that he had said, and who am I to question King Kenny, was the board are, remember he said they are all Celtic fans and they want Celtic to do well. If that is the case, Phil, and like I said, who am I to question Kenny Dalglish? If he knows that they're Celtic fans, then I will take Kenny's word on it. He said it on the bus. Proofs of the pudding, go back on YouTube and look it up. It did happen. I managed to speak to the man himself, a lovely guy. Well, if that's the case, Phil, why can't they see what they're doing is hindering the club's progress? Is it really just all about money? Are they scared that what they, if they do something, it's going to completely capitulate and the club's going to go bust? Surely not, with all that money sitting in the bank. So what is it? What is it that is stopping these so-called Celtic fans from seeing what they're doing is not helping the club? Yes, plaudits where it's due. You've made the club a financially stable, incredibly secure business. and you've made it a successful football club domestically. But there's more to Celtic than domestic dominance. We want to see, as a fan base, Celtic progress in Europe. We're not saying go out and win the fucking thing. All we're suggesting is don't fall behind. Don't fall that far behind that we can never catch up again. Because that's where it's going. That's where it's going. And football is a very fast moving entity. And if you get left behind, you've got such a difficult, task in getting it back. Look at what's happening to Manchester United. The biggest club in football. The biggest club in world football, regardless of position they are in the league, regardless of how unsuccessful they've been in years, they are still arguably the biggest football team in world football. And look what happens when their board takes the eye off the ball. Yeah. And we are going down that route as well. And obviously, because of the waters that we swim in, it becomes a far more difficult task for us to keep up. And as it was said earlier, we're a Europa League. In fact, we're lucky if we're a Europa League club right now. We struggled in the Conference League.
That's right, we
struggled in the Conference
League. That was a one-off. Angie would clearly just sacrifice that. I'm not trying to
Why though? Why did he sacrifice that?
Mate, I couldn't tell you, but this is a bit of revisionism, right? But I don't know why. But he just, I don't know if because he knew it was in his first season and knew the pressure was on to win the league.
Look at what it meant to West Ham. Look what that meant to West Ham.
I would have loved to win.
No, I know you're not saying, but I'm saying why. We were in. I'm sorry, we're Celtic Football Club. We are in every. We regardless if we'll ever win the Champions League, we won't. But we should go into every competition, especially something like the Conference League, where it's literally designed to help clubs that have got lesser chances of winning European football win a European trophy. And we chose to go, nah.
Yeah.
Mate, it adds up to everything, mate. It's the lack of ambition. It's the lack of fucking actually trying.
It's a bit of snobbery, I feel, that,
we have
we don't want to win that. We don't want to win a European trophy.
We have no right to be snobby about that.
I think something you just said there, Connor, was spot on, though. I think, in that scenario, because the first leg, I think we just got caught cold by them. I just think we didn't expect what happened that night. But after that game, I remember he was very bullish. Now, Andrew's usually very bullish with the press anyway, but somebody said to him, it's effectively tie over now, Ange, and he was not happy with that. But then you saw the team he put out in the second leg, and it was effectively he was waving the white flag of surrender at the start of the game. So I think what you said, right? I think he realised at that point in time where, we're now top of the league. We've just beat Rangers heavily in that midweek game that we played them. The tide has turned.
We were on the crest of the wave. We could have easily went out of the Bodo Glimt and got a result.
Yeah.
And look, they did very well in that campaign. They beat Roma, who went on to win the competition.
And Jose Mourinho, was he upset about winning another Europa League, another European trophy?
It was fucking greeting. It was loving it.
Actually,
it was loving it.
Do not tell me that we're not good. We're too good to win. We're too good. I'm too big of a club to give a shit about a Conference League. If Jose Mourinho, one of the greatest managers of his generation, is bawling and crying that he's won a Europa Conference League, and West Ham fans are filling the streets that they've won a Europa Conference League, do not tell me that we should have just went nah. And that was a fucking open goal. I'm not saying we could have went and won the fucking thing, but we should have done a damn sight better than we did. But I digress. It doesn't matter. I don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I want us to be a Conference League team or club.
You say that, but what if we got to the fucking final? You see,
of course, if you're in it, you want to win it, Connor. But what I'm saying is, I'm not saying that I want us to get. If we're playing the Conference League every year, that means we're failing domestically. Let's get that right. But at the time when you were dropping down the tiers, when it was dropping down the tiers, if you're dropping into that competition, you go out to fucking at least try and get to the final of a Conference fucking league. Now,
here's a scenario, right? And you can give me your answer. If you could have the choice, right, between dropping, we would get a third, right, and dropped into Europa League, right, and you have a go at it, and you can whatever comes, what comes. You could either choose that or whatever way it would work out, you would drop down to the Conference League and you knew you would at least get to the quarterfinals. What would you take? Would you rather take a stab in the dark at Europa League, or would you rather know the fact that by whatever would happen, you would drop down twice into the Conference League and you would get at least to the quarterfinals, and from then on you would see what would happen? What would you rather choose? I can tell you right now what I would rather choose. I can tell you right now.
It's a tough one because ultimately you want to win. Obviously, tournaments, getting to the quarterfinals of the Conference League, realistically, at the end of the season or in years gone by, does that really get remembered? Probably not. But if it does kick us on in years going forward, because right now, Stuart Miller just said it there, he's not ever seen Celtic win a knockout tie in the latter stages of European competition, because it'll now be 20 seasons, because this would have been the 20th season, but we're not going to be. As it stands right now, we're not going to be in Europe in the second half of the season unless
the last time
something miraculous happens.
Last time we won a European title for Christmas, I was 6.
Jeez.
Look at me now. I've had a tough fucking paper round. Look at me now.
2004. Oh, God, away. That is because I was February 2004 or March 2004, Barcelona, and bloody Barcelona as well. Jeez,
look, when you see Rangers get to a Europa League final, that tells me it's not impossible for Celtic to get there. So I'd obviously rather take a stab in the dark for for the Europa League, and they beat Borussia Dortmund on the way. They beat you can list them all. I'm trying to remember them. Leipzig, top German quality teams.
Braga.
To get to Did they get the rub of the green? Aye, in some situations they did, but hey, you need that to get to finals, and they got it. Fair fucks to them, they got it. I mean, and they fell at the last hurdle, but the point is they showed that they, we can. I mean, fuck me, man, we've been wiping the floor with them for fucking years, bar one season. One.
Aye. David, that happening has not helped the Celtic board in any way, because now us fans look at it and go, we're better than them, and they got to a final. Why fuck can we not get to a final? So that amps the pressure up on them. And again, they must be sitting there after watching what happened on Tuesday night and seeing what they've done in the last few years. How can they just sit there and be like, oh, this is fine? This is like that meme, the guy with everything's burning around him. He's just sitting there drinking his coffee. This is fine. It's like, no, I would love to be like the proverbial fly on the wall and hear the conversation between the board members and Brendan after Tuesday night. What did they say? Oh, unlucky, Brendan. It's just the way it happens. Don't worry about it. Or was there a bit of an inquest where they're asking, like, what went wrong there? Well, obviously, Brendan could turn around and go, well, you guys caused, or you contributed to it.
Mate,
I'd love to see what the mindset is. I'd love to know.
I'll tell you exactly what they said. They said, don't worry, Brendan, it's fine. You'll win the league. You'll probably win the Scottish Cup. And this will all be forgotten about, because we'll be partying in the streets again come May. And look, I'm not saying I'm not going to, because let's be honest, we all have to celebrate. We all have beaten these fuckers to the league. But it'll happen, and we'll take our eyes off them again, because we'll be in party mode. We'll be loving the fact we've won the league and probably a double. And that's the issue, because we're too fickle as a fan base.
Yep.
And we've been brainwashed to think that just staying ahead of Rangers, right, and beating them to whatever fucking fake record they think they've got in terms of league titles and success is good enough. But it's not. We need to be better than that, and then double on that. We need to fucking try and get this club to the next level and performing in Europe in a fucking place we belong. We're the first fucking team in this nation. Know your fucking Man United, know your fucking Arsenals or fucking whoever, right, who constantly get in the Champions League. It was us that won the fucking European Cup first time around. Us.
Yep.
And they didn't do that spending fucking 20 billion fucking pounds on fucking players. It was boys who grew up 30 fucking miles from each other to Celtic Park. And they went to the fucking European final and won the goddamn thing. That's the point. The point is that it's the fucking board level, it is the fucking players we're getting in, it is them not having the ambition, the fucking bollocks to actually give it a go. And that's the problem.
Yeah.
Well, how can I follow that, Bill? So I'm going to wrap up this less than dignified T.N.F.
It's a
Yeah,
Sunday
get-
Blair that's a dignified one. The T.N.F is certainly not
Yes,
dignified.
and I'm sure.
Certainly
Now,
not.
obviously, there was a lot of topics that I thought would come up tonight that didn't come up. I'm sure you're probably all saving those questions for a certain Marc Cairney. So I'm
Yes.
sure. I mean that certain situation seems to be rumbling on. I'm sure it will be there to discuss at some point. But we've stuck to the fallout of Tuesday night and where the board are going to go. That's what the passengers chose to discuss tonight, and I appreciate all of them. I didn't get through all of them tonight, I'm afraid. I do apologise, but a lot of them were quite similar. So I hope even if your question or point wasn't brought up tonight, it was still answered somewhere amongst the fuckings and all the other words that were thrown around tonight.
I'm always for a
Connor,
cold shower,
always a
lads.
pleasure. Yeah, you go for a cold bath, mate. You go cool down.
All the ice in the roof of my house is just melted away with the steam coming out of my ears the past hour.
Yeah, no, fuck me,
Oh,
man.
man.
Ian McIntosh, there he is. There he goes. Love the Sunday Blether, he says. I'm getting a wee cheap fucking plug for the Sunday Blether there, lads.
No.
And we love you too, Ian McIntosh. I'm looking straight at you, right in the eyes. But anyway, thanks for joining us, Phil. The Phil signal was put out in the sky, and you were more than happy to jump on the T.N.F. So thanks
man.
for doing that for me. I'm sure the T.N.F's usual team will be back next week. Of course, Friday feeling tomorrow, Phil. I am unavailable, I'm afraid, tomorrow. I'm not hiding because of that embarrassment of a quiz that I'm trying to avoid a second one. I'll hopefully be back for the next Friday feeling, but I'm sure, Phil, you'll do your best to get somebody on as a guest. We've been discussing whether it's plausible to see if maybe one of you guys want to come on sometime, but we need to work if that's even possible or if allowed, So we will work away at that. But anyway,
No
guys,
wrong.
we've been on for an hour and 7 minutes and
No
33, 34, 35 seconds. So we'll call it quits tonight. Thanks for joining us this lovely Thursday, and we will see you again tomorrow. Cheers, guys.
Catch you later, guys. See you.
Right, bye.